Hey everybody, AstartesGaming here, back with another look at Chronicles of Elyria. Today we'll be checking out design journal number 18, which is going to cover kingdom and land management. This design journal dropped on May 18th, so I'm a little bit late on this one, but since it's been so long since they've released any information on the game following the Kickstarter, I had a lot of other series going on, and it took me a while to get to this. So, let's go ahead and dive in. With us being in the middle of our Kickstarter and with land and titles being offered in exchange for influence points and backing support, it's no surprise that there's a large number of questions about what it means to own land, what land can be used for, how one becomes a mayor, what the responsibilities of managing a settlement are, how one becomes a noble, and what safeguards are in place to protect someone's claims. I've pulled this design journal together to answer those questions. So at over 8 pages and 4,000 words, it's the longest design journal to date. Hopefully we can get through it fairly quickly. It's ironic in a way, as the system of nobility and titles in Elyria means that no more than 2,000 characters on a server will actually be a noble, and it's most likely going to be much fewer than that. If you include the aristocracy, it's still no more than 10% of the population. So with that in mind, if you're planning to just be an adventurer, a humble craftsman, an explorer or cartographer, or even a miner, chances are good you won't need to know any of this for a good long while. Titles and land management, truly it is a game all in itself, and not everyone will want to play or need to play. Actually, not a game, a dance. The dance of dynasties. Come on. So, the gentry. The gentry are just your average landowners and can obtain land through a number of means. They can obtain land through marriage. I don't know why there's W's there. Inheritance, purchasing from the local count, and of course through adverse possession. Adverse possession being sort of like squatters' rights. It's discussed in an earlier design journal if that's something that interests you. So while not something we'll cover in this design journal, it's also possible to purchase land through influence points prior to the launch of Exposition. Let's take a look at the others in more detail. So, marriage. Perhaps the most straightforward route to obtaining land is through marriage. Unless the marriage contract is specifically altered not to share ownership, any landowner by either spouse becomes the shared property of both. We leave the option open for a prenuptial agreement because you never know, she may be a gold digger. Seriously, they may be actually trying to dig up gold on your land. That's funny. So, yeah, be careful who you marry. They might just be marrying you for the land that they want or other things that you might own, just like in real life. So, inheritance. While it's possible to inherit land from yourself or from others, when the game first launches, you'll likely be children of NPC families. In this case, you won't inherit the land of your NPC parents unless you reach a certain amount of favor with them. Otherwise, they'll will the land back to the count. We did that because we didn't want the first generation of players to automatically get all the NPC land. They should still have to work for it. Yep, we think of these things. To inherit land from your NPC parents, you'll need to complete a certain number of tasks for them, make improvements to the land, etc. If you ask them, they'll let you know whether or not you're in the will. Okay then. It probably won't matter for me. I am looking more at being a ward and starting off on my own, but I haven't decided yet. That's just kind of what I'm favoring at the moment. So you can also buy land. In addition to marriage and inheritance, you can buy land from the local count. The count will have a land management table in a public county office that shows all parcels of land within the county. The count or representative he appoints, a land manager, can go in, insert blank deeds obtained from a scribe, and then drag and drop them onto the parcels of land on the table and fill in the values. Then anyone can come look at the table, see the unclaimed parcels of land with the deeds pinned to them, sign their name, put any required money into the table, and take the deeds. Poof, they've purchased the land. The nice thing about this system is that can you guys see that? I think you can. So the nice thing about this system is it means there's no need for the count land managers to be online to sell the land. The count or land managers just need to set prices and put stuff up for sale ahead of time. So once you've purchased, let's get this back up. Let's go. No, you can see that okay. Once you've purchased a plot of land, you own it and can legally build on it. And before anyone asks, yes, you can resell your recently purchased land. You can even build a land management table of your own that shows all the land you own and put it up for sale. That's pretty cool. Okay, cool. So we're going to look at adverse possession again, apparently. Oh, I didn't realize you guys could see that. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's just the pictures that you're seeing on screen right now. So we'll get rid of that. And that should allow you to read a little bit more. So anyways, the last way to obtain land is through adverse possession. Adverse possession is the process of obtaining land that was previously owned but has been abandoned. Abandoned land is land which has not been visited by owners or family members in the last 28 real-life days. Right away, that means it'll most often be land that's remote, infrequently visited, or land which has been left unattended due to people going offline for several weeks or months. Once a land has been officially abandoned, someone can attempt to take possession adversely, hence the name. We changed the system slightly since last time we talked about this system as a result of the introduction of the land management table. Now, you go to the land management table located at the county seat and it'll show you the land on it that has become abandoned. While at the table, you can submit your own contract in place of any contract that existed for abandoned land. You'll need to obtain a new contract from a scribe beforehand, but once doing so, you can specify the purchase price, property tax, etc. Basically, whatever you want. The contract is between you and the count, just like when somebody normally buys the land, but because you're claiming land through adverse possession, it means you set the terms of the contract. Okay. So, they need to sort of clarify that a bit, because if you're setting the terms, why wouldn't you just set them all as low as possible? There must be a minimum of some kind, otherwise, you would just set 0 for everything and not pay a dime. But they don't seem to have any information on that here, so hopefully they release more information on that later. So anyways, you put that into the table, and you click Adverse Possession in the UI, and you'll get back a copy of the deed or contract that's set to become official in 28 days, assuming you maintain possession of the land. So you make your way to the land, build a simple house on it, and then keep the house from being destroyed for 28 days. After 28 days, if the structure hasn't been destroyed, you'll own the land in full. I don't really like this system compared to the previous adverse possession system that they had. The other one made it seem more like real adverse possession, like somebody abandoned the land, you literally just set up shop on it, and if they can't kick you off the land, or if nobody comes to kick you off the land, then it's yours. In this one, you're basically submitting a new contract. It's basically as if you're buying it. It's not really the same as adverse possession. I mean, I can see why they might want to do that, but at the same time, I don't think it has the same kind of feel to it that the other one does. The previous system, that is. So the nice thing about this is it gives the count notice that you're claiming the land. If he sees the contract and doesn't like it, he may come and fight you off the land. If he does like the contract, maybe you were fair and generous, he may actually come help you defend the land from the previous owner. This process of signing a new contract is important because adverse possession is supposed to be a legal way to take ownership of land, not an illegal way, so there still needs to be a contract associated. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't like the idea of the count getting involved, but whatever. All that said, it takes almost a full 2 months to gain land this way from the moment someone abandons the land. 1 month for it to become officially abandoned, and 1 month for someone else to take ownership. So you must have to really want that land, because it's going to take you a long time to get it now. So, uses of land. Kind of stammered there. Uses of land, not uses of land. Now that we've spent some time talking about how to get land, you may be wondering what you can do with it. This falls into 3 basic categories. So, it can be for residential and commercial construction, such as building houses, inns, crafting buildings, taverns, etc. This just means using the land to build stuff on. Or agriculture. This means farming, beekeeping, not bookkeeping, breeding, harvesting, or really anything that involves the natural renewable resources of the land. And industry. This means mining or otherwise harvesting the non-renewable resources of the land. So no matter how you plan to use the land, as you gain more land adjacent to each other and attract friends to come and join you in your efforts, you'll start to move beyond the simple gentry into the realm of the aristocracy. And so we move on to the next section, aristocracy and establishing settlements. The aristocracy are the mayors, magistrates, and barons. To transition from a landed gentry to aristocracy, you must follow a path of development for your land, growing it from one kind of settlement or another. Let's talk about how you do that. First, you and some friends buy 3 parcels of land next to each other, put a building with a few beds on each one of them, enough to hold 10 people minimum, and put a well in the middle. That creates a hamlet. Everyone within the 3 parcels of land will get water automatically when on the land. That means while your thirst still goes up, you won't die of dehydration. At the same time, having a house and bed means your fatigue won't drop while you're on one of the 3 plots of land. Okay, now hamlets are not registered, so aside from the benefits already described, they provide no additional benefits. You can call your hamlet whatever you want, but it won't show up on any maps unless you mark it yourself. If you want any benefits beyond this, you'll have to expand. Okay, so what's the next size up? Probably a village. If you expand your collective land up to a minimum of 9 parcels in more or less a square, build a tavern, and grow the number of community members from 10 to 5. Sorry, I'm holding back a sneeze. 10 to 25, your hamlet becomes a village. In addition to the benefits provided from any of the other structures you build on the land, having a tavern on your land means that with fields, farms, or another source of raw food on your land, your tavern can begin to service the village, preventing starvation whenever you're within the presence of the settlement. Now, hamlets and villages have no system of governing, as they're generally going to have no more than 3 to 5 players living on them. Everyone who owns land in the village is a village elder and should have a say in what happens in village matters. Whoever owns the most land is naturally going to have more say. Okay then. As with hamlets, villages can be named whatever you want, likely won't show up on maps, and don't have to be registered with the county. But if you register, you get certain benefits. Namely, the count will likely want to build a road, put it on maps, and if you build structures with crafting stations that are open, then NPCs from nearby areas might travel and join your village. They may then purchase land nearby to help grow your village. Let's see, as you continue to grow your land, build new structures, and expand the community size, it will follow a similar pattern. Here are the actual requirements. And so, the hamlet, as we saw, is 3 parcels of land holding 10 people and a well. The village is 9 parcels of land with 25 people and a tavern. Sorry, the ability to hold 10 people or 25 people. A town is 25 parcels, able to hold 75 people with a town hall. City is 49 parcels, 150 people, and a courthouse. And the capital city is 81 parcels, capable of holding 250 people and a monument. So as your hamlet grows into a village, into a town, etc., so too must your infrastructure grow. The well we first built only covers a 3x3 area, so as you expand, you'll need to put in more wells, fields, farms for food, for the taverns, windmills, etc. Of course, any plot of land along a river automatically gets water, so no need to build additional wells there. Now, once you get to the point of having a town, there is a town charter that is filled out. The person in charge of the town is the mayor, and everyone else are members of the town council. This is similar to guild leaders and officers in other games. Generally speaking, the mayor of the town will be the person who owns the most land under the town. But it doesn't have to be that way. Whoever registers the town charter with the county is the mayor, regardless of whether they actually have the most land or not. Personally, I think I probably don't want to live in anything bigger than like a village. So that's probably what I'm going to go for, either like a hamlet or a village. But I'd like to stay in like a little bit smaller, cozier setting The towns, cities, and capitals just seem like they would be way too hectic, too many players. And I'm looking for a more, I don't know, what's the word? Like a more rustic setting, I guess. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And so, responsibilities of the aristocracy. One of the questions people often ask is, what are the responsibilities of aristocracy? That is, how does a mayor, town, magistrate, city, or baron spend the majority of their day? As a hamlet or village, there's no special UI, and they basically just work with their fellow hamlet or village elders to decide where to put plots of food, wells, and other small buildings. That's it. Beyond that, they can play however they want. As a town and above, there's a town management UI which lets you see your boundaries, zone parcels of land for leasing, either for residential, commercial, or industrial use, monitor settlement resources and taxes, and lets you identify where you want different types of structures to be. This is, as you guessed, a table much like the count has, which goes in the town hall. Through this table, people can see the town plot and can work to bring the mayor's vision of the town to life. So once you hit the city level and above, and add a courthouse, it becomes possible to customize the local laws using the desk at the courthouse. As with the lower level tiers, aside from defining some laws for your city, using the city planning table to identify where buildings should go, viewing the resource tables to ensure you're getting the right resources into the town, and collecting taxes, you can otherwise play the game as you normally would. It's our estimation that with each tier of government comes an extra couple of man hours of management per week. Hamlets maybe 1 to 2 hours per week spent meeting regarding the hamlet. Villages 2 to 4 hours, towns 4 to 6, and cities 6 to 8, and finally capitals 8 to 10. Remember, at the point where you're running a capital, you've got 250 plus people residing within your domain. These are, of course, estimates. Those people who prefer to be more hands-off can delegate many of the duties to others, and those who prefer to be more involved can walk the settlements, making... What? That doesn't make any sense. The more involved can walk the settlements, making improvements themselves. Okay. I don't understand the wording of that, but fine. So, mayors versus barons. Hamlets, villages, towns, etc. each have a military counterpart. These military counterparts work much the same, except they are defensive structures, typically smaller, and are paid for by the dukes, rather than requiring payment in the form of taxes to the count. These are currently referred to as outposts, forts, keeps, strongholds, and castles. Like their civilian counterparts, they require the introduction of different buildings such as lookouts, barracks, ramparts, etc. The leaders of the keeps, strongholds, and castles are, as you might have guessed, barons instead of mayors or magistrates. Beyond that, the functions of the military structures are much the same as their counterparts. Like a hamlet, an outpost can be built anywhere. Same with a fort in comparison with a village. When you go beyond that, you sign a contract with the Duke that guarantees your resources in exchange for building certain structures, keeping a minimum number of people residing there, etc. That said, civilian establishments can have military structures as well for defense. Nothing prevents you from building those things. It's just that lacking a contract between the Duke and a settlement leader requires it to remain a civilian settlement. Okay? So you can throw like a guard post in your village to defend it without having that contract with the Duke. And so now we look at the nobility. The nobility are the counts, dukes, and kings. The main question people have about nobility is, how do I become one? What are my duties as one, and how do I lose my nobility? There's a few ways to become a noble, either through marriage, inheritance, claims, or appointments. Marriage is obvious. If you marry someone and the contract grants you a noble title, you become noble. You can now set laws in your regions and have other privileges of your rank. Inheritance, same thing. If you inherit from a player character or non-player character with favor, like you did land, you become a noble. So now we look at claims. And this is, I imagine, where it gets very like Crusader Kings 2, sort of in like a third-person world. This is the exciting one. To claim a noble title, you have to have a casus belli. I think that's how you pronounce that. It's Latin, so forgive me if I'm wrong there. There are 3 ways you can go about getting a casus belli. Favor, fame, or wealth. Note, the last two only apply to non-nobles. Once you become a noble, only favor can be used. This was provided as a way to allow players of different paths to become noble. Once you are noble, you must play the Dance of Dynasties to move up. So, the favor route. Let's say I'm a mayor of a city in some county. If I can gain enough favor, I can either take over as count of the county, or if I have enough land, can claim independence and create my own county. What does favor mean? Favor is a willingness by your peers, your nobles' peers, or your noble's liege lord to support you. This is actually a written contract that they sign that assures you their support. So if you're a mayor and you can rally enough other mayors, currently 2 of 3, you can claim casus belli and attempt to overthrow your count. As previously stated, instead of getting the favor from the other mayors, you can alternatively curry favor with the other counts in your duchy. Your count's peers, sorry, I inflected that and I shouldn't have, in your duchy, your count's peers. If you can get 51% of your count's peers to agree, then you have achieved casus belli. As with before, that gives you the opportunity to perform a coup. Finally, if you can get 25% of your count's peers and their duke, you've established a cause for war. For king, there are no nobles above them, so you either need the dukes to rally against the king, or you need to gain favor with the other kings. There's treachery afoot. And let's take a look at the fame route now. So each noble title has its own fame. Legendary for kings, exalted for dukes, and renowned for counts. If you can reach the level of fame just below a noble title, famous for counts, renowned for dukes, and exalted for kings, you can automatically claim casus belli on the basis of being famous. That seems kind of weird. Then, the same process repeats as before. Of course, being an exalted character might give you casus belli to claim the title of king, but you still need an army to defend your new capital. That's where more politics are involved. And as an exalted character, if you die while challenging the king, you suffer the spirit loss of being a now legendary character. Okay, so no reward without risk. And so now we have the wealth option. If you're able to accumulate some, yet to be... Okay. The writing in these are always a bit off to me. Excuse me. If you're able to accumulate some, yet to be defined amount of wealth based on playtesting, you can buy a casus belli. If, of course, you still need the land to claim as your own, and you still need to pay mercenaries in order to defend your new title, but it's at least possible to get it. Get it. Or the casus belli. And so now we're going to look at Coup d'etats. Up until this point, we've been talking about ways to obtain a casus belli, which allows you to initiate a coup, but here's where the fun starts. For the sake of the next section, you can replace the word count with duke or king in most circumstances. The process is mostly the same for each. Once you've got the ability to coup, you must either set up a county seat in your own lands and declare your independence from the former count, or you need to march in and take the county seat from your predecessor. At this point, it behaves much like adverse possession. If you set up a county seat, the reigning count has 28 days to remove your county seat. If he succeeds, you forfeit your titles, a vacuum ensues, and he can appoint a new mayor or baron in your stead. Excuse me. Starting to lose my voice. This thing is so long. If you succeed and he or she cannot force you off the lands, then congratulations, you've created a new county. An alternative to setting up a new county of your own, which requires a significant amount of land, is to just march into the county seat and claim it as your own. If you can stay in the county seat for 28 days, you become the new count. If you're killed, well, yeah, you lost. No building needs to be destroyed in order to prevent your coup from succeeding. Coups are divisive. If a mayor coups and invades the county seat, the other mayors or barons have essentially 3 options. They can either join the pretender, they can remain neutral, or they can join the defending liege. And so regardless of which option they choose, there is a potential loss condition for them. If you joined the pretender and he lost or remained neutral when your liege summoned you, you committed treason. In the event your liege your liege lord wins, you're at risk of losing your title. If you remained loyal to your old master and the coup is successful, the new count could sue for peace, or could choose to stretch his or her army further and invade your lands as well. No matter which route you go, coups are dangerous times for everyone. Fortunately, in order to have obtained a casus belli in the first place, you had to gain significant support from either your peers, your liege's allies, or even their liege lord. That's no small thing, and you should very quickly be able to take the temperature of the situation and get a good idea for who the winner will be. Let's look at appointment now. Wow, we're not even halfway through this thing. How are we doing on time? Wow, I might need to cut this one in two, actually. As just hinted at, a noble can remove their subordinates from power and appoint another lesser noble in their stead if and only if there's a vacuum or power struggle. This generally happens during the death of a noble without an heir, or if a title is revoked due to treason. See previous section on coups. So, if you, as a count, attempt a coup and fail, your title will likely be revoked, and then the duke can put someone else in your position. But here's the important thing to note, and I'll say it twice. A title can only be revoked due to a player's choice of actions. A title can only be revoked due to a player's choice of actions. You have to risk losing your title for it to be taken away. We will do what needs to be done to ensure that's the case. We do not want nobles tossing their lesser nobles for no reason. Okay. So you actually have to commit some form of treachery in order to lose your title, it looks like. You can't just, well, maybe through incompetence as well, but it doesn't seem like you can just be tossed out for no reason. So, another thing to note in the event a power struggle does occur is a noble is still forced to fill the seat of a lesser noble. They can only do so with the lesser noble's peers or one step below. So if a duke is tossed out or dies, the spot can only be filled with another duke or a count. Likewise, a mayor that is removed from power can only be replaced by another mayor or by someone else who owns land within the settlement. Okay, so we're actually running out of time. I guess we're going to go ahead and break it off here, and I will pick back up with the rest of it in another video, because there's still... Actually, you know what? No. There's a lot less than I thought. I forgot about the comments, so let's just hammer through this thing real quick. So, defending your title. Let's say you're the count who's just been invaded and fled your lands. You'll keep your title for another 28 days. During that 28 days, you have a free casus belli to counterattack and reclaim your position. After 28 days, your title changes to deposed count or countess, and you no longer have casus belli to claim the lands as your own. Another thing to note, a noble can forfeit by returning their ring to the usurper. If the usurper gets the ring of the noble, the title is revoked immediately and given to the new noble. So one possible scenario is the king is assassinated and the murderer takes his ring. This creates a power vacuum, and one of the dukes uses that as an opportunity to coup by gaining favor of two of the three other dukes. The assassin then returns to him the ring of the king. The king is dead, long live the king. Final comment on that, you'll likely have land under the county seat as a noble. You'll also likely have land elsewhere not incorporated into the settlement. The land under the settlement becomes owned by the new noble, but any land you had not part of the settlement remains your private lands. So if you've got a farm somewhere, you can always flee to that if you need to. Also, if you're a landowner and have quite a bit of land outside of your current ruling area and not a whole lot of land inside your ruling area, it might be worth forfeiting, because you definitely don't want to risk any of your other holdings by trying to hold on to your one little piece of land that's giving you your title. So, responsibilities of the nobility. The kings are responsible for setting the success or victory conditions for the kingdom. That is, it's the king who decides whether the kingdom will focus on research and technology, business and commerce, or military endeavors. Through their kingdom management UI, they can drive the direction of the kingdom. This uses NPCs or players to communicate to the dukes and counts so they can drive toward that goal. Also, kings set laws and taxes for the kingdom using contracts. Dukes set laws and taxes for their duchy and are responsible for paying dues to their king. They're also responsible for law enforcement, military, and defense of their duchy. They manage the strongholds, castles, or outposts. They assign sheriffs to each of the counties, and they appoint judges to the courthouses of the cities. They can use their map to keep track of crime rates and the sizes of their defensive structures, and in war, the dukes raise their armies and lead them into battle. The counts are responsible for resource management, building up settlements within their counties, establishing wealth and power for the kingdom, and encouraging research. The count's UI is about creating trade routes, identifying where resources are being gathered, and funneling the money to and from the settlements. So now we have the size of land and settlements. Another question we get asked frequently is how many settlements, counties, duchies, and kingdoms will be in the world at the start of Exposition. The answer is there's no precise answer. The worlds are procedurally generated, and as a result, there's a range of numbers with respect to kingdoms, duchies, counties, and settlements. That said, let me provide a few numbers. First, there will be an average of 4 kingdoms per starting continent. Within the kingdoms, there will be an average of 8 duchies. Here's where it gets interesting. The sizes of a county can vary so widely that there can be as few as 8 or as many as 64 within a single duchy. On the high end, that could mean as many as 2,000 counties on a single continent. Of course, the counties would be so small they'd only allow for 100 or so characters in each. The other extreme results in over 750 characters per county. The end result will be somewhere in between. If we assume somewhere around 16 counties in a duchy, the law of averages would suggest around 400 characters per county. Given that we know the size of the settlements to be 10, 25, 75, 150, and 250, it's safe to say that a county could have any combination of up to 40 hamlets, 16 villages, 9 towns, 2 cities, and 1 capital. In reality, it'll generally be a combination therein. A couple examples might be 4 towns and 4 villages, or a city, 2 towns, 2 villages, and 5 hamlets. So that's pretty much it for this one. We were able to wrap that up pretty quick, luckily. I didn't want to let this go too long. So that concludes this massive design journal. If you haven't already, make sure you read the update on Kickstarter to learn a bit more about how choosing kingdoms, duchies, counties, and settlements will work in Exposition. You can find the link here. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. If not, you can check out the Design Journal 18 on chroniclesofelyria.com in their blog and follow the link there. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you found it informative. I certainly did. That's a lot more information on the governing bodies, I guess, than we've had previously. So that definitely sheds some light on how things are going to work in the game. I'd still like to see more about maybe how... Well, actually, they did cover quite a bit on how each individual government is going to run things. So I suppose they shed some light on that as well. But yeah, so I will see you guys back here for Design Journal 19 if it ever gets, posted. This one took them quite a while, and so I'm not holding my breath for the next one. I imagine they will get a 19 out, but I don't know when. I think with the Kickstarter stuff going on, they're still extremely busy, so I imagine it might take them a while. But yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please feel free to share my videos however you guys see fit, and I will see you guys back here for Design Journal number 19.